start in just a moment. All right. I think we are streaming now. All right.
Are we streaming?
We should be live streaming, and we are live here in the sanctuary. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So glad you are with us on this lovely Erev Shabbat. We're going to sing our way through the service this evening as we are approaching Passover, a couple of weeks to go, but we are in that mode where we are all Pesach all the time. I don't know that that's healthy for the digestive tract, but for spiritually, it's a nice way to ease into the holiday. Anyway, we're going to begin by singing Hine Ma Tovu Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. How good it is that we can be together. Let's join together in singing. Hine ma tovu manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Tovu manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Tovu manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Well, we're going to slowly work our way into the service this evening, and I want to ask if anybody would like to light the Shabbat candles. Do we have any volunteers? People who, yes, all right. Thank you, Connie. I didn't even have to ask for a pyro. We have matches also, if you prefer matches. I think it's just a click. Or maybe it's a double on here. Got it? Okay. Let's read together either on page 3 or up here on the screen. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. We're going to turn to L'chadodi as we welcome Shabbat a little bit. And in the middle of this prayer, of this version of the prayer, we'll take a few moments to just breathe and to welcome in whatever we are seeking on this Shabbat. Maybe a little bit of calm, maybe a little bit of holiness, maybe a little bit of joy, maybe even a little bit of rest. Whatever we're searching for, perhaps we can take just a few moments in the middle of this prayer to find at least the beginnings of those searches. So we'll turn the lights down so we can focus on the beautiful light of the Shabbat candles. We'll join together in L'chadodi.
L'chadodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat, nikabla, l'chadodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat, nikabla, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom u'mevorach, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat
Shalom u'mevorach. Let's take just a few moments.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom u'mevorach.
We're going to turn to the Chatzi Kaddish as we transition our way into Shabbat. We'll invite you, if you are able and willing, to please rise. We're on page 26, or up here on the screen for the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho be'Yisrael bagala Uvizman kariv v'imeru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alamula me'almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitpromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudesham b'richu Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran ve'alma ve'imeru amen.
Let's join in singing Baruch Hu.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la,
invite you to please be seated. Let's do this reading by Israeli poet Leah Goldberg together. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days, lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. Let's continue on page 30 or up on the screen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishaneh itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. And at the bottom of the page, you are the creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Amen. And let's continue to stretch our Hebrew muscles as we read together Ahavat Olam. We rejoice in God's love for us and the giving of Torah to our principles. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Torah umitzvot, Chukim umishpatim, Otanu lemadata. Al Kain Adonai Eloheinu, B'shochbenu uvkumenu naasiach bechukecha, V'nismach b'divrei Toratcha, umitzvotecha leolam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yamenu, uvahem nege yomam v'layla, v'avatacha al tasir, mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. And if you are able to rise, we'll invite you to please do so as we sing together the Shema on page 34.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Leolam, Leolam Vaed.
May be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, Bechol levavecha, uvechol nafshecha, uvechol meodecha, vehayu hadavarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha, hayom alevavecha, vishinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, b'shivtecha b'veitecha, uvlechtecha vaderech, uvshochbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam laot al yadecha, v'hayu latotafot beineinecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, leman tiskeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, Vitem kedoshim lelohechem, ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, lihiot lahem lelohim, ani Adonai Elohechem. We're going to turn in just a moment to the Michamocha, but we want to ask if anybody has a simcha that you would like to share with our congregation on this lovely Erev Shabbat. We are Okay. We got a couple of them here. Let's start over here.
Well, next year it would have been 40 years since I graduated medical school. Next month, and I just retired.
Yay.
That is a big one. Yes, that's great.
I'm going to go down to Cincinnati tomorrow and see my granddaughter in her wedding dress.
Oh man, that is very exciting. Granddaughter in wedding dress. That is terrific.
Well, on the medical note side, my wife Stephanie got accepted to nursing school this week, and we also celebrated our 10-year anniversary. So,
All right. Michael, you gotta say anything? That's great. We'll take it. Whatever it was, we liked it. Love, is that love? Love. Being thankful for love. That is really nice. Terrific. Right.
Sorry, continuing on the medical, I got into OSU's Wexner Literacy Board, so I'll be in charge of helping bridge the gap between the aides and the management.
Congratulations. Mazel tov. That's awesome. You want to say it a little louder?
I got into the leadership board at OSU. I'm a CNA at the James, so I'm helping management and the employees bridge the gap.
Right, terrific. All right.
So as a wildlife biologist, I often work in different states, and I deal with a lot of really weird taxes. I defeated the worst tax break that I ever had to deal with this year with 5 W-2s in 3 different states. So it's over. It's finally over.
And you got a new talit. Yes, that was terrific. Wonderful. Anybody else? These are wonderful smachot. Well, why don't we sing together Mi Chamocha, who is like you, God, who helps us to acknowledge the blessings that surround us every day, no matter how small they are. Let's join together in singing Mi Chamocha.
La la la
Lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh.
Torah deilo, Yosef eleh. Torah deilo, Yosef eleh. Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. Yadadai, 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 yadadai,
Let's turn to our Hashkivenu prayer, this prayer that asks God for protection. This prayer was, by the way, added to a different part of the service as people would walk home, and in Talmudic times there were vandals on the street, and there were thieves who would sometimes prey on folks who were walking home from shul. So the idea of this prayer was added to ask literally for God's protection. May we get home in peace. May we lie down in peace, and may we rise up to do the best that we can do in this world, be the best. And if people are trying to get us in some way, if people are trying to antagonize us, may their plans be destroyed. So the prayer actually has a beautiful and interesting history. We have just a little snippet of it here, asking God to be our shelter of peace. perhaps we can be that for one another as well on this Shabbat in these dark times. Hashkivenu, let's join together in singing.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'ha'amidenu Shoreinu L'chaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'ha'amidenu Shomereinu L'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom Yamidenu Shomereinu
Let's join together. I want to mention, by the way, I missed the online smachot. We have one from Pam who says, I'm getting to see the totality of the eclipse in her sister's backyard. And I think any of us who were able to do that experienced, wow, what an awe-filled moment. So thank you for reminding us of that, Pam, and what a simcha indeed. So let's turn to Adonai Sifatai. You can find that on page 46. And if you're able to rise, we'll invite you to please do so. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Hasadim Tovim V'konei hakol, v'zocher hasdei avot v'imahot, u'mevi geula livnei v'neihem, l'ma'an shemo b'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen. Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav L'Hoshia. Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim. Sohomech Noflim Ve'Rofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim. Umekayem emunato lishene afar micha mocha bal givurot umido melach melech minit umechaye umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'emana talachayot hakol baruch atah Adonai Mechaye HaKol. Ahata Kadosh v'Shimcha Kadosh, u'Kedoshim b'chol yom yahalelu chasela. Baruch Atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. Amen. You may be seated and use whichever words you would like, either at the in the back of the Amidah, 54 through 60 in your prayer book, or whatever words are in your own heart to express some personal time of reflection on this Shabbat.
Say shalom, shalom bimromav. Say shalom aleinu ve'akol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Say shalom, shalom bimromav. Say shalom aleinu ve'akol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Say shalom aleinu ve'akol Yisrael amen. Say shalom, shalom bimromav. Say shalom aleinu ve'akol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ve'akol Yisrael amen.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. You may, hey, I heard Michael, that's cool. You may remember a story from years ago about an Israeli mountain climber named Nadav ben Yehuda, who was determined to reach the top of Mount Everest. He practiced on some mountains in Israel, which are really just hills. He then moved on to Europe so that he could practice on mountains in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And then when he felt like he was ready, he joined with other athletes who came from different countries around the world and started the dangerous ascent up Mount Everest. Had he made it, he would have been the youngest climber to ever scale the storied peak. And so all of Israel was cheering on Nadav ben Yehuda as he began his long journey up the mountain. The climbers decided that they would not use ropes to tie themselves to each other. Instead, each would go in his own way at his own pace, and they chose lots. And Nadav was chosen to bring up the rear so that he could help any climbers that fell behind. With these rolls in place, they started up the mountain. Unfortunately, once they got a few hundred feet up the mountain, the weather changed pretty dramatically. Frigid, howling wind shook the trees and blew into the face of the mountain climbers. It was now a week into their expedition. Snow was blinding some of their eyes. Even their protective equipment, which was made specifically for Everest itself, wasn't providing relief. Several climbers felt that the weather conditions were too brutal, and they gave up. Nadav ben Yehuda kept moving slowly and carefully, holding on to trees and rocks as he moved up the mountain as the days progressed. Finally, he found himself within 300 yards of the summit of Mount Everest. This was the moment that he had been waiting for and working for such a long time. He could see the top of the mountain, and he could feel like it was almost within reach. Then he looked down, and he saw the body of a fellow climber lying on the ground. It was Adin Amrak, a Muslim friend of his from Turkey. Adin was lying on the ground, unconscious. Somehow his gloves and his oxygen tank were nowhere to be found. So what should he do? Nadav thought to himself. Should he leave him there and go on to reach the top, achieving the very goal of his entire life? Should he forfeit the goal in order to save his colleague? He knew that it would take a great deal of energy to rescue his friend, and that likely he wouldn't be able to, just because of the sheer steepness of that area that they were in. He knew he wouldn't be able to finish the climb if he were to take his friend back down and go back up. So imagine that scenario. You've worked for years, and you're now within 300 yards of your goal. You see this climber on the ground, unconscious. Should you abandon your bid to reach the summit? Not only your hopes, but the hopes of your entire country, not to mention your sponsors and supporters. Should you abandon all of that? What about the fame and fortune that he had been looking towards? I don't know what I would have done in that scenario if I were Nadav ben Yehuda, but here is what he did. He, without really even thinking about it, took off his own gloves and put them on his friend, even though by doing so he set himself up for almost certain frostbite. He took off his oxygen tank and put it on him, and even though he knew he was at risk of being without oxygen, they actually shared the tank as they went down. Then he lifted his friend, put him over his shoulder, and carried him for 9 hours back to the next level of the mountain called Camp 4 at a rescue station there, where they gave Adin Amrak some first aid and the medical attention he needed. Then the rescuers gave Nadav ben Yehuda some attention also for the frostbite that had accumulated upon his hands. Then they were both helped down the rest of to the foot of the mountain over time, and both somehow survived. So many of us admire when brave people choose to do the right thing, when it's not the easiest option, and when it's not in our own self-interest. And the people of Israel knew that too. And that is why when Nadav ben Yehuda returned to Israel, there was literally a ticker tape parade for him in Tel Aviv, celebrating him and his goodness. Shimon Peres, who was the president at the time, presented him with Israel's Presidential Medal of Honor, which is the highest honor that can be given in Israel to a civilian. From biblical days to the present moment, we are lucky that Jewish tradition has given us many examples of heroes who do the right thing, often at their own peril. Earlier in the Torah, in the book of Exodus, as we begin the Passover story that we will retell in a week and some change, there are some heroes who don't often get mentioned in the story. In the Israelite story, a new king, a new pharaoh had taken over Egypt. This king didn't know that Joseph had saved Egypt from a famine that would have killed millions. So this new pharaoh gets nervous about the Israelites, whose population surrounds their own, and decides that they must control the population. So Pharaoh summons the midwives, the midwives to all of the Israelites, represented by two women, Shiphrah and Puah. He says to them, when you deliver babies for Hebrew women, look at the birth stool. If it is a boy, kill him. If it is a girl, let her live. The midwives, fearing God, did not do what the king of Egypt had told them, and they let the boys live. They went directly against an order by Pharaoh. They might not be climbing at Mount Everest, but they certainly were still putting their lives at great risk to do what's right. One commentator teaches us that Pharaoh assumed that the only threat to his power would be a physical resistance by the male Israelites. He could not conceive of the spiritual resistance exemplified by the role of women in the Exodus narrative. Women like Shiphrah and Puah were heroes, and also Moses' mother Yocheved and his sister Miriam, and even Pharaoh's own daughter become the early and often unsung heroes of our Exodus story. Why did Shiphrah and Puah do this? It says in the text that they were, quote, fearing God. So what does that mean? In one of our commentaries that we often like to use during Saturday morning Zoom services, it's called Eitz Chaim, the commentary says that the phrase fear of God, which Shiphrah and Puah had, is the closest thing that the Torah comes to having a word for religion at that time. Perhaps Shiphrah and Puah were teaching that the essence of religion is not necessarily the belief in existence of a God or another theological concept, but rather religion is the belief that certain things are wrong because God has built in the standards of moral behavior into this universe. If we want to define ourselves as religious, that doesn't mean just saying prayers and singing Shabbat songs and showing up for services and following rules. It means living our lives by a certain set of ethics and morals. For Shiphrah and Puah, that meant take care of these babies. Do the right thing, even if it doesn't benefit you. It'll make our world stronger. We have so many examples of heroes in our biblical narrative and in the present as well. Abraham argues with God to save the wayward people. Jacob demonstrates that we certainly can make changes in our lives. Ruth decides to cast her lot with the Jewish people. And fortunately, we are lucky to have heroes in our own lives today. We should note that we passed a grim milestone this week, 6 months of the Israel-Hamas war. It has been 6 months of terror as families of the hostages still held in Gaza have spent every waking moment thinking of their loved ones. It has been 6 months of tears for the family of loved ones who were killed on October 7th, as well as for all of the innocent people who have been killed in and around Gaza in the months since then. It has been 6 months of frustration and division and anger. It has been 6 months of the strongest and loudest anti-Semitism that we have seen since the Holocaust. There has been so much darkness, but there has also been resilience and determination and goodness. When I was in Israel in late January, I saw firsthand the desperation of the mourning families who were torn apart. I saw the horrible aftermath of October 7th, the unthinkable destruction of humanity that appeared that day and continues today. But even in all that darkness, even in talking to all of the people who lost friends and family and loved ones still being held hostage, there is an undeniable feeling of hope. Hope that things will get better, hope that life can go on, hope that there will be more heroes to make a difference. As I mentioned when I spoke about and wrote about my Israel trip, we spent a number of hours in a Bedouin village in Rachat, where a large group of Muslim Israelis live. The woman with whom we spoke, Aisha, told us that she had always felt like in Israel she was kind of an in-between person. She said, we're not Palestinian enough for Palestinians, we're not Israeli enough for Israelis. While they are full citizens of Israel, Aisha said that she has always felt like an outsider and worked hard to establish relationships with the Jewish villages and kibbutzes nearby. It was in large part because of those relationships that we were introduced to another group of heroes, one of whom we met that day. And I'd like to tell you their story by showing you a quick video. The heroes that we met on that day were Bedouin Muslims who went out of their way to save Jews on October 7th. I'd like to share a video that has their story. The video, they speak in Hebrew in the video, but there are subtitles that are a good-sized font, so hopefully you can follow along. It's a short 6.5-minute video, but it's a very compelling story. So let me see if the technology will work. Hopefully it will. We'll see. Yes.
لا 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 لا
نحن أزرقاء إسرائيل.
איה מידן, מקיבוץ בארי. שבת, קבעתי עם חבר לרכב ביחד. קיבוץ בזמן הזה של 6:15 בבוקר, שקט, אין נפש חיה בחוץ. זה איזשהו זמן כזה שאני כל כך אוהבת אותו. אני מתקרבת לשער של הקיבוץ, בערך אחרי 300 מטר מהקיבוץ מתחיל מטח עצום של רקטות מעל הראש שלי, ואני אומרת, וואו, כזה דבר עוד לא היה. אני מחליטה לעצור את האופניים שלי ולשכב בתעלה מצד הכביש. בשלב הזה אני כבר מתחילה לקבל טלפונים מהבית, מעומרי, מבן הזוג שלי, ואומר לי, איה, קורה משהו, אני לא כל כך יודע מה קורה, אבל את חייבת לחזור הביתה. זה הרבה יותר גדול ממה שזה נראה, ואסור לך להישאר בחוץ. אני מחליטה שאני חוזרת הביתה. ובערך 300 מטר מהקיבוץ, אני מזהה 3 חבר'ה שעובדים אצלנו בחדר אוכל, והם צועקים לי שיש מחבלים בתוך הקיבוץ. המחבלים יורים בכולם, הם ירו ברבש"ץ, הם יורים בילדים. זה היה רגע שפשוט התרחיש הכי היום שלנו בקיבוץ בארי מתגשם. בשלב הזה אני ואישם רצים. היום אני יודעת שקוראים לו אישם, אז לא ידעתי שקוראים לו אישם. ואנחנו רצים לכיוון המיגוניות שמשם באתי. עד שחוליה של מחבלים מגיעה לצומת, מתחילה לראות על כל האנשים שעמדו במיגוניות, הם זורקים רימונים לתוך המיגונית, הורגים את כל האנשים שהיו גם בתוך המיגונית. בשלב הזה אני ואישם רצים ונשכבנו בתוך השיחים. ואז הוא ביקש ממני את הטלפון שלי, והוא יצר קשר עם אבא שלו. אבא של אישם שולח לנו הודעה לענות למספר כלשהו. זה היה המספר של אסמאעיל.
אני אלגרנאו אסמאעיל. דברנו עם בחורה שהיא ברחה עם הישאם כמה מטרים מהקיבוץ של בארי.
נפגשו עם איה בדרך. אמרו לה שאל תכנסי לקיבוץ, יש מחבלים בקיבוץ.
דוד שלנו הגדול, הוא אומר, אתם 4 נוסעים להביא את הילד.
הגענו לנקודה שהיא קרובה לקיבוץ בארי. שם פגשנו הרבה אנשים שהיו בתוך המסיבה, שברחו מהמסיבה לכיוון היערים. ראינו אנשים בתוך סכנת חיים. המצפון שלנו לא נתן לנו להשאיר אותם שם בתחת אש. לפני שאנחנו נלך לחלץ את הבן דוד שלנו, עזרנו לעוד הרבה אנשים שהיו בתוך המסיבה.
סיוט, אין מה להגיד. אנחנו כמעט ראינו את המוות בעיניים.
באמת, שנייה אחת היינו גם יכולים לאבד את החיים שלנו. וחלצנו באותו היום הזה לא פחות מ-30-40 אדם שהיו בתוך המסיבה.
כשהגיעו החבר'ה, הם הגיעו בלי טלפונים, כולם בוכים. התחלתי לתת להם מים, להרגיע אותם.
היינו אומרים לו, אתה בסדר, מחבקים אותו, נותנים לו מים לשתות, שטפים לו את הפנים.
ונתנו להם טלפונים שלנו, שכל אחד יתקשר להורים שלו. גופות של ישראלים בחורשות.
כי אני נזכר בגפות שאני ראיתי אותם ברחוב, בגפות שאני ראיתי בחורשה. זה דבר שאתה לא יכול, קשה לך לשכוח אותו. עכשיו אני כל הזמן הייתי מתכתב מהטלפון של איה עם הישאם. אתה בסדר, אנחנו לידך, אנחנו לא רחוקים ממך, אנחנו 200-300 מטר.
עוד 5 דקות, עוד 20 דקות, אנחנו אצלכם, וזה מחזיק לנו את התקווה. אני אומרת, אוקיי, הוא בדרך.
אחרי 2-3 שעות העבודה שהיינו מחלצים עוד אנשים, אמרנו, מה אנחנו נעשה עכשיו? או שאנחנו הולכים להציל את איה והישאם, או שאנחנו נמות שם.
ושוב יריות, פשוט לא הפסיקו לירות, ואנחנו שומעים את הכדורים שורקים לנו ליד האוזניים. ואני אומרת לעצמי, אם אני ארים את הראש, אני מקבלת כדור.
נכנסנו, בתוך האש נכנסנו.
ואז הישאם, הוא אמר לי, הם פה. הם ממש פה. והם מגיעים אלינו, פותחים את הדלתות של האוטו, ואנחנו רצים לתוך האוטו.
אספנו אותם עם הג'יפ והלכנו, אמרנו לו, תצא קדימה, אומר לו, אני צריך ללכת לכיוון של החיילים.
אחרי בערך 20-30 מטר שאנחנו מתחילים לנסוע, מגיע כבר כוח של הצבא. בבת אחת, כל הלוחמים שהיו שם מפנים את הנשקים אלינו.
והם שלפו איזה 300 נשק לכיוון שלנו.
לא, 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 אנחנו אזרחי ישראל!
התחלנו לצעוק, תזהרו, לא לראות, אנחנו ישראלים, אנחנו באנו לעזור, אנחנו מירד.
ישראלים!
יצאתי מהאוטו,
נפלתי על הרצפה מול האוטו, וצרחתי להם שלא יראו עליהם.
לא רק חשבתי על הילדים שלי, חשבתי גם על אימא שלי.
אחד החיילים לוקח אותי טיפה הצידה, אומר לי, הם חטפו אותך, את חטופה? אמרתי לו, לא, לא, אני לא חטופה. אני מבארי, והבחור הזה מרעת, הם באו להוציא אותנו מכאן.
בסדר, את... מה, למה את בוכה? מה קרה?
מה שלומך? מה המצב? הכל טוב?
מה המצב?
בגלל ההתראות שהיו שם, אחד הקצינים מגיע אליי ואומר לי, תקשיבי, מפנים אתכם מפה לבאר שבע. אתם לא יכולים להישאר פה. אני עולה על האוטובוס, ואז אני מקבלת טלפון מהמשפחה, שאומר לי, אנחנו לא משאירים אותך לבד. אמרתי לו, מה זה אתם לא משאירים אותי לבד? אתם גם ככה הצלתם אותי. אנחנו לא מוכנים שתישארי שם לבד. אנחנו נביא אותך לרעת, את תהיי פה מוגנת, אנחנו נשמור עלייך. לא יכולתי לרדת מהאוטובוס, כי האוטובוס היה מלא באנשים. אז בדרך היה שלב שהוא מתקשר אליי, אומר לי, תסתכלי רגע דרך החלון. אז אני מסתכלת דרך החלון, הוא אומר לי, את רואה, זה האוטו שלנו, אנחנו פה לידך, ואת לא לבד. אנחנו נשארים לידך עד באר שבע. אם את לא יכולה לרדת מהאוטובוס, אנחנו נוסעים אחרי האוטובוס, ואנחנו פה.
Talk about heroes, right? People who acted before they thought because it was the right thing to do. Putting other people's safety above our own. We know that there are countless stories like this from October 7th and onward. Both Rabbi Lynette and I heard so many stories while we were in Israel, and even months later, we're still unpacking them and still sharing them where we can. So as we prepare for Passover in a couple of weeks, we're grateful for the freedom that we feel here. May we be grateful for the heroes like Hirsham and his family, and the close friends who follow in the footstep of our biblical characters and remind us each day what it means to be human and humane and to be a hero. When we can all reach these heights, when we can all take care of each other and see past politics and religion and acknowledge that we are all human beings created in the image of God, then perhaps we can really taste freedom. Then perhaps we can really be free on this Passover and beyond. Amen. Well, we're going to turn to the Mishaberach Lecholim, the prayer for those who are in need of healing. We have a number of people on our list, and then I'll invite, if you have anyone to add who is in need of healing, that you can add the names in just a moment. This Shabbat, we are thinking of healing for Asher Benaya Ben Harav Gavriela Vidavid Eli, Jonathan Adler, Nancy Ashley, Lori Barr, Sarah Bates, Margie Block, John Brada, Ann Clark, Keith Clark. We're thinking of Bruce Cohn, Mia Cooley, Ella Dubrow, Sam Edelman, Carrie Escher, Marilyn Foskel, Marilyn Friedman, Marcy Golden, Alan Goldberg, Carolyn Goldmark, Jessica Heffley, Beth Jasalowitz, Karen Karlsberger, Dan Lang, Minna Melton, Phyllis Miles, Lisa Pena, Jeremy Phelan, Ian Phillips, Rashi Prestowski, Stanley Radin, Jessica Rathkoff, William Robow, Steve Rubenstein, Ralph Sauer, Ozzy Zimmer, and Shelley Zimmerman. We are thinking also of healing for Debbie Loeb and Linda Robeson. There are other folks who we are thinking of for healing. Yeah. Okay, we're thinking of her. Thanks. Yeah, Joe. Thanks. Any other names? On their behalf and on behalf of all those who have no one to send prayers their way, we sing together our Misha Berach prayer, and we say, Baruch Ata Adonai, Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed are you, God, who sends healing and strength when we most need it. Let's join together in singing. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishe Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And let us say, Amen. We're going to continue with the Bayom Hahu section of Aleinu. You can find the words on page 287 or right here on the screen. Bayom Hahu Yeh Adonai Echad. Bayom Hahu Yeh Ushmo Echad. B'ne'emar, as it is written, B'ne'emar, let it be said, God rules the earth. On that day God shall be one. V'haya Adonai Lamelech HaKol Haaretz. On that day God's name shall be one. Bayom Hahu Yeh Adonai Echad. Bayom Hahu Yeh Ushmo Echad, Ushmo Echad. In a moment, we're going to turn to our Kaddish prayer, and I'll invite those of you in the room, if you are comfortable doing so, if you are observing a yahrzeit when I read that name of the person you are remembering, I'll invite you to please rise. Once we've heard all the names, and we'll rise as one community and join together in our Kaddish Yatom. However brief may be our time on earth, O God, you endow those fleeting days with abiding worth. We recall the loved ones whom death has recently taken from us. We are in Shloshim for Stephen Charles Levy, for Robert Silver, for Ulrich Sachs, for Robert Sachs, and for Ruth Wilson. And we remember those who died at the season in years past, and we take them into our hearts with our own. This Shabbat, we are lovingly remembering Richard Jack Abel, Christopher Cassidy, Benjamin Coe, Seymour Feldman, David Fuhrer, Rabbi Charles J. Freund, Celia Friedlander, Abraham Julius Gershowitz, Gary Gleitman, Muriel Goodman, Barbara Holstein, Nettie Itkoff, Jack Kessler, Theodore Lansky, Louis P. Lowy, Belle Lurie, Edward Miller, Lester Pies, Blanche Rose, Mac Roth, Rita Rosanchik, Irving Schulman, Morris Spector, Martin Torch, Maurice Washer, Jay Weaver, Adolph Weiler, and Jerome Wolfe. We are remembering also Lee Ann Holstein and Fanny and Bernard Levine. Ask, are there other names of folks who we are remembering this evening? We'll invite everyone then to please rise as one community for our Kaddish prayer. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uv'yizman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudasham barichu, Le'elam minkol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabba min shemaya, v'chayim alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'imramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of comfort send peace to all who mourn, and together we say, amen. You may be seated. And Becca, I have all the streaming controls up here, so I'm not sure what you're doing back there, but come on up here. Give us some announcements. Great. All right.
Shabbat Shalom. We are, you keep saying a couple of weeks, but we're actually 10 days away from Seder. I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. And only 3 days away from the deadline to register for our TBS Seder here on Monday, April, we're in April now, 22nd at 6 p.m. The 15th, which is Monday, is the last day to register on ShulCloud. We have a couple of upcoming adult education programs. The first is Juicy Jewish Topics this Tuesday at 11 a.m. Rabbi Lynette will focus on the mystical aspects of counting the Omer. Then later this month, we are excited to announce that Dr. Amy Acton is scheduled as our lunch bunch speaker on Thursday, April 25th at 12 p.m. We expect a large group, so please register for this program in advance. For those of us paying attention, the 25th is during Passover, and our catered lunch will be kosher for Passover. Last, don't miss the fun of our 2024 gala as we celebrate Jewish life and culture. We'll celebrate a performance by stand-up comedian Al Lubel and have a spread of some delicious food to nosh on and celebrate everything we love about being Jewish in America. General admission tickets and sponsorship to opportunities are still available. And finally, if you've registered for this evening's Passover wine tasting oneg, please meet in the social hall after services. If you did not register and would like to participate, I have 3 open seats. Find me after services downstairs and we will get you set up. We have some good pairings that might go well with, or might be in your Seder at home or here. As always, please visit ShulCloud or check your latest weekly window to view and register for all of our upcoming programs. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. All right. The wine tasting, that's gonna be very fun. All right, well, why don't we do, let's do a closing song and then we'll do Kiddush and Motzi at the very end. O Javo Shalom Aleinu, there it is. May there be a time in this world where we don't have to squint at the news, where we can see that the world is a more peaceful and loving place. O Javo Shalom Aleinu. May there be peace among us and among the whole world. Let's join together in singing. O Javo Shalom Aleinu, O Javo Shalom Aleinu, O Javo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. O Javo Shalom Aleinu, O Javo Shalom Aleinu, O Javo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam. Salam
Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'akulam.
Everyone want to do Kiddush?
Aleinu ve'abo ha'olam, Salam, Salam. Salam, Aleinu ve'abo ha'olam, Salam, Salam. Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'akulam.
Michael's getting early bar mitzvah practice here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei keri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'yahava uvratzon hinilanu zikaron l'maseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehillah Lemikra Kodesh, Zecher Litziat Mitzrayim, Kivanu V'Harta, V'Otanu Kidashta, Mikol Ha'amim, V'Shabbat Kodshecha, V'Ahava Uvratzon, Hinheltanu, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. We got these mitzvah boys. The Reek family was packing up lunches on was it Thursday? When were you guys packing them up? Wednesday, packing up lunches for kids who are in need. All right, why don't you guys hold this together? I want you to face your mom. That's cute. Okay. All right, and we'll join together in Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Hopefully you're not gluten-free. Oh, if you don't like it, that's cool. And Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Great job. Nice. All right. I see someone's lying the house.
Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Israel Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Od Avinu Chai, Chai, Chai. Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Wow. Okay, good. Then what are you going to play with? So what chords do you know? Wow. You know G, you know D? Do you know A? Wow, so you know E. E is such an important chord. It is easy. I'm playing an E, but I'm going up. So it's F, G, B, B flat, C, E. Really, I learned all of that. That's so awesome. Really? So you're doing... That is awesome. Soon we'll be able to go... That's only three strings. How old are you now? 7? Wow. I started when I was 9, so you got me by at least 2 years. Yeah? Oh, that's awesome.
this off.
This conversation is totally being streamed.